First, I would like to give a little introduction before we meditate. I would like to say a few words about where meditation fits into the path to enlightenment. So normally, there are 3 stages to get a spiritual realization. So first, we listen to the teachings, or we study, and then based on this study, then we think about it, we reflect, we debate, we discuss. So we chew over it from many different perspectives to make that teaching more closer to our own experience. We kind of try to really to understand what is meant by that thing, no? And then one meditates on it to actually, first one gets to the point where one gets the effortful experience of that topic, and then by repeating that meditation, one gets to the effortless stage of that topic, and then that transforms into a realization where it's part of our being, right? So, for example, we listen to Rinpoche's teaching on the disadvantage of self-cherishing, of selfishness, and the advantage of altruism, of cherishing other. So we might think, oh yes, that's great, let's do it, you know? But that's just airy realization. It's very fleeting. It's there due to the blessing of Rinpoche. We might get some feeling, oh yes, I should do it. But actually we are not able to do it. You go out and after 5 minutes or an hour, you're back to your selfish way. You know? So it hasn't transformed into an experience. So for it to become an experience, you have really to convince yourself of the advantage of cherishing other, of loving other more than yourself. So you have to use many different reasoning from many different points of view. And not only from you, but from other people. You know, you share your experience. In the Tibetan context, they would do that in the debate setting, right? So we in the West, we have replaced that with discussion group. But for a discussion group to work, you have to keep to be on the same topic all the time. You don't speak about something else. You only speak about that topic and you come from many different perspectives. And then you read about it, you reflect, and like that, you come to a conviction, a certainty about the advantage of cherishing other and the disadvantage of selfishness, right? And then you meditate. And then the meditation has 3 phases. So you have the phase where you purify your mind, you accumulate merit, you do prayers like we did with the George Lama Zopa. So that's a very extensive way. So that the mind is kind of clean, you know, and then you meditate. So, and then meditate, you use many reasons, the argument that you had, you know, about the advantage of cherishing other and the disadvantage of selfishness. You go over it and you stay with you think about it, and you convince your mind. And then when you reach a state of conviction, you know, you stay, then you do calm abiding meditation on that state, on that experience. Oh yes, you know, it's really better to be cherishing other, you know, it's much better than to be selfish. Because this and this and this and this and this reason, you know. And then once you're in that state of caring more for other than yourself, then you do calm abiding on that experience. Right? And then when you lose that feeling of caring more for other than yourself, then again you analyze, you think, I have to, you know, it's better to cherish other because of this, it increases my patience, I create merit, you know, it creates a better rebirth, it leads me out of cyclic existence, leads me to enlightenment, all the Buddha did like that. So you have all these reasons to convince you, so you think about it, and then once you're in that state of altruism, again you do calm abiding. You know? And that's how it leads you to, so you get there through the effortful meditation, you know, through using reasoning, effort, you know, and then that transforms into, by repeating that process, you get to a point where it's spontaneous, you don't need any more reason, it becomes part of your personality. So all the spiritual realization come about by purifying, accumulating merit based on Guru Yoga, and then alternating calm abiding and analytical meditation. You see, for example, you see, all beings have been your mother, you know? So people have that statement, all beings have been your mother. But if you don't have any reason, if you don't have any pathway, it becomes just blind faith, right? Or you should cherish other. But if you don't have a stream of reasoning to lead you there, all these things become statement, but you have no access, no way to make them become your own. So you need a path of reasoning to lead you there. And that's what analytical meditation, contemplation brings to you. Now, in terms of calm abiding, you have many different use of calm abiding. So usually in the preliminary practices, it says, you know, when you sit down, once you have cleaned your room, set up the altar, things like that, you sit down in a correct position. And the first things you do is calm down your mind. Bring your mind to a neutral state by either counting the breath or exhaling your thought, your emotion. You know, take a deep in-breath, and as you exhale, you imagine exhaling all your thoughts, all your emotion, and you repeat that till your mind becomes to a neutral stage. Or you do the 9-round breathing. So all these calm, abiding type of meditation are to kind of bring your mind to a neutral, settled state. And you do that for 10 minutes or for as long as necessary for your mind to become calm. And then on that base of a calm mind, you do a positive motivation for your meditation or for your prayer. So that's one place where one does some calm abiding. And then the second place often in prayers where one does calm abiding is when one absorbs the Guru in one's heart. Right? So there one tries to merge one's mind with one's Guru's mind. Right? One tries to feel that one's mind is imbued or blessed by the realization of the Guru's mind. You know? So that one's mind and one's mind, the mind of one's Guru become one. You know? And we stay there. Right? So there's many ways of doing that. But basically that's one place where one rests. You know? Now, in terms of object of calm abiding, there are countless. A few common ones. One uses the breath as an object of calm abiding because it's a very easy object to find. Everybody breathes, everybody knows where the breath is, so it's a very easy object to find. And the Buddha explained to use the breath for people which don't have any mental affliction that are dominant. So Lama Tsongkhapa in the Lamrim Chenmo advises to use the breath at the beginning for those which don't have strong anger or strong attachment or strong ignorance, or they have a balanced level of these three negative emotions. Then he advised to use love for those which are irritable, which have anger as their main problem. And he advised to use something ugly for those which are attached to beauty. So for those which are bewildered or attached to a beautiful body of a person, attached to sex or attached to a company of someone, and would meditate on the skeleton or the inside organ of the body or a corpse or something like that to as an antidote to that mind of attachment. And for those which are dull-minded, not very clean, not very sharp, they would use the 12 links of dependent origination or some kind of analytical meditation. So each one has to see what one's mind is, and understanding one's mind, find the appropriate object for calm abiding. Then another category of object are the visualized object. So often an object given for calm abiding is the image of the Buddha, because it's a virtuous object. So you're going to spend 10 hours, 100 hours, 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours focusing on that object. So the breath is a neutral object. Meditating on the breath becomes virtuous only because of your motivation, not because of the power of the object. Whereas the image of the Buddha is virtuous by itself. So even if your motivation is not good, focusing on the Buddha will leave a positive imprint on your mind. So all the time you meditate on the Buddha, you put positive imprint, you create some virtue. And on top of that, because of the tens of thousands of hours you focus on the Buddha, it's easy for you to remember the Buddha when you die or when you have difficulty. You see, when you have fear or when you have some trouble in your life, it's easy for you to recollect the Buddha. Or at the time of death, or in the bardo, or in next life, you see, because of the imprint, the memory, the habit of having thought of the Buddha so much, that imprint is in on your stream of consciousness. So somehow that thing will be with you. So the Buddha, one could, in the sutra system, often one takes Shakyamuni Buddha as the object. But in the Vajrayana, one could take any form of Buddha that one likes. Could be Chenrezig, could be Tara, or any of your other deity that you have a connection with. And it can be front generation, but it can also be self-generation. So it has the same benefit, whether you visualize the Buddha in front or whether you visualize yourself as the Buddha. Now there's another category of object that one can take, is the space-like nature of the mind. So like in Mahamudra, one would use the space-like nature of the mind as an object of calm abiding. It's a little, for some people it's easy to find, and for other people it's more difficult. For people which are suffocating in thought and emotion and busy, sometimes to focus on space is very helpful. Because one's life tends to be crowded with a lot of concept, a lot of things. So for some people to focus on space-like nature of the mind is very restful, very attractive. And also it leads you to absorption into emptiness. Because in terms of appearance, it's the same. It's just what is negated that is different. So usually at the beginning, when one does calm abiding meditation, one tries a few objects. And then one tries to find one that one likes. And then if one tries to develop greater concentration, greater mental stability, one uses always the same object. So at the beginning, one goes a little bit shopping around, tries different objects, till one finds one that one likes. Because in your training of calm abiding, you're going to spend many, many hours focusing on that object. So you have to find one that you like, that you have some kind of attraction towards. Then for you, it's easy to do calm abiding meditation because you feel kind of a connection with that object. So now in this room there are people which are newer and people which are medium practitioner and some people are advanced practitioner. So some of you do already calm abiding on an object. So please go to the object you are familiarized with. I will explain the breath for the beginner, how to do calm abiding on the breath. And for the other people, you just focus on the object you familiarized with already. So usually for calm abiding, what is important is your position, your body. So you sit cross-legged or sit on a chair in a comfortable pose with your back straight. You try that your back is straight naturally without any tension. So at the beginning you move a little bit your muscle so that you see, we usually after sitting a while we accumulate tension here and there. So you release this tension. And then you put your hand in a meditative pose, the right hand on top of your left hand with the two thumbs touching. So usually the meditative pose is important at the beginning of the session. Once you're in a meditative absorption, if your body goes out of that pose, it's all right. But at the beginning it helps. It has each aspect of the pose has some benefit for clarity of mind and for help to bring stability to your mind. So then you check that your shoulders are not tense, that your elbows are apart from your body. And then you put the tongue behind the teeth on the upper palate. And you keep the mouth closed, but the teeth not touching each other. And you try to let your eyes a little bit open, gazing along your nose in front of you. So you're not looking at anything in front. You let the gaze in the space between your eyes and the object. And then gently you put your attention on the movement, on whatever aspect of the movement of the breath that attracts your attention. And then the job is to try to establish a sustained attention, so that with one part of the mind you are able to establish a continuity of not letting go of your object of attention. So at the beginning you're happy with 10 or 20% of your attention that stays on the movement of the breath, even though 80% might be wandering off and thinking about something else. You don't worry about that. Your aim is to have a sustained attention on the breath with at least one part of your mind, so that one part of your mind doesn't forget the breath. So usually one, in technical terms, says is one tries to establish mindfulness, the mindfulness of not forgetting the object of attention. So basically you try to establish a continuity of not letting go of the object with at least one part of your mind. And gradually, as your meditation becomes better, from 20% of attention you can put 30, 40, 50, 60 and so forth. So we do that for 15 minutes. Okay. So due to the power of this morning prayer and meditation, and due to the blessing of Rinpoche, may we become wise in our listening, our reflecting, and our meditation, so that we gain deep spiritual insight and realizations. Sencho Rinpoche, Markyampa Nam Gegyochi, Gyamba Nyamba Mebayo, Doni Gondu Meba. So we visualize our plate and the food in the kitchen. Then we purify, transform and increase with the 3 mantras, and then we offer to Rinpoche and to all our spiritual master and to all Buddhas. Om 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 Lama Sangye